You are 34, sitting alone in a booth at a truck stop diner off Interstate 80, and your phone buzzes twice in the same minute. One text from your attorney, 2 words, it closed. One text from Tyler, your old roommate, a photo of his new boat, captioned, still driving that same beater. What happened between the truck you're still driving and the number that just cleared isn't a story about luck or a lucky exit. It's the anatomy of what this channel calls the quiet position. And most people spend a whole life quietly paying for the version of themselves they never noticed. Stay through this one, because the ending isn't the number. It's what the number costs after it clears, and almost nobody making money content is honest enough to walk you through that part. You grow up outside Youngstown, Ohio, 2 blocks from a rail line that shakes the walls at night. Your father weighs trucks at a scrapyard scale house 6 days a week, hands stained permanent rust. Your mother cleans downtown offices starting at 7 at night, home well past midnight. You rarely see them awake in the same room. Nobody says the word broke. They just switch to store brands and stop mentioning it. You're 9 when you learn which grocery aisle has the yellow sale tags before you learn to ride a bike. You wear your cousin's hand-me-downs for 3 school years and get unnervingly good at pretending that's a choice. The moment that actually matters doesn't look like one. Your father mentions over dinner that Duffy's Pest Control run for years out of a spiral notebook just sold to a bigger regional outfit, and Duffy paid off 2 houses the same afternoon. Your father says it like news, you hear it like something else. You're 12, and you start noticing which small businesses around town run on nothing but a notebook and a prayer, and something quiet starts forming that has nothing to do with getting rich and everything to do with never watching 2 exhausted adults go silent at a table again. You don't know it yet, but that quiet decision is going to cost you a lot more than either of them ever paid for anything. If a story like this is useful even this early, a like costs nothing and tells this channel to keep making them. It genuinely helps more than people think. You study operations management an hour from home, paid for with grants, a mailroom job, and a loan balance you track in a notebook, the same way Duffy tracked his routes. You take a scheduling job at a regional HVAC company after graduating, and within 4 months, you notice the same problem everywhere in that industry. Pest control, plumbing, janitorial contracts, vending routes. Money bleeding out in the gap between one job ending and the next one starting, trucks crossing the same 3 neighborhoods twice a day, nobody tracking it because it never shows up as one bad decision, only 1,000 small ones nobody's watching. You start building a routing tool at night on a laptop your roommate teases you for never closing, and you decide early on that you're not building something exciting. You're building something boring, something that lives quietly inside businesses nobody photographs for a magazine, because boring businesses have a habit of actually staying open. At 23, you quit the scheduling job with $4,100 saved and exactly 1 client. A 9-truck plumbing company willing to pay a small monthly fee to stop wasting fuel and hours on routes nobody had ever bothered to question before. It is, by every reasonable measure available to you at 23, a terrible bet. It is also the only bet you actually understand. If you want more of this, the boring middle of a business, and not just the flashy ending, subscribing is the easiest way to catch the next one. New ones go up every week. Tyler calls it the dumbest decision he's watched a friend make in real time, laughing, genuinely baffled you'd walk away from a stable paycheck to build software for exterminators. "What's the exit here?" he asks you once, standing in your driveway, and you tell him honestly that you don't know yet, and he just shakes his head like that's the whole problem right there. The first 18 months nearly finish you before the product does. You eat the same 6 meals on rotation, because deciding what to eat feels like spending energy you don't have to spare. You take 2 part-time dispatch shifts just to cover rent, coding between calls, in your car during lunch breaks, at a door balanced across 2 filing cabinets that passes for a desk in a 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. The dryer's running underneath you until 11 most nights. By month 11, you're under $600, and your 1 client is 30 days late on an invoice that would keep the lights on. You call him from the parking lot outside a hardware store. He apologizes, says his own customers are slow paying him too, then asks, almost offhand, if you could build the same routing logic for his cousin's landscaping company 2 towns over. That offhand question becomes client 2, Then a regional pool service company finds you through a listing in an industry newsletter nobody else is reading and becomes client 3, followed a month later by a commercial window washing outfit that heard about you from the pool company at a Chamber of Commerce breakfast. You name the thing you've built, because by now it deserves a name that isn't just a folder on your laptop, and start calling it, first in your own head and then out loud to clients, the unfinished account, the part of a business's day that never gets closed out, the miles and minutes that vanish because nobody's watching that specific gap. It becomes the whole architecture of what you sell. Not software exactly, a way of finally closing an account that's been quietly open in every one of these companies for years, sometimes for a decade or more before you showed up. You move out of the apartment above the laundromat at 25 into a small rented office above a tire shop, still nothing to look at, still nothing anyone would photograph. By 26, you have 31 clients, 4 employees, and a piece of software doing this one narrow, unglamorous job better than anything a bigger company has bothered to build, because bigger companies are chasing things with better photos, not better plumbing routes. You hire your 5th employee that same year, a former dispatcher named Rosa, who used to work at the HVAC company where this whole thing started, and she's the one who points out, almost by accident during a slow Tuesday, that half your clients are still running the old version of the tool because nobody ever set up an update path. A fix that takes a weekend and quietly saves every one of those companies another few percent nobody had asked for. The kind of unglamorous save that never makes a pitch deck but keeps every single one of them renewing without you having to ask twice. If you've been in a stretch like this yourself, building something nobody around you fully understands yet, drop where you're at in the comments. This channel reads every one of them, and future videos genuinely come out of what people share there. The personal cost starts showing up around here. At 27, a 3-year relationship ends, and she isn't wrong about why. She names it clean and simple over coffee, says you were present for the company every single day, and present for her maybe 2 days a month, and you don't have a rebuttal, because she's right and you both know it. You take 1 day off, then you go back to the notebook, the routes, the invoices, because you genuinely don't know what else to do with a feeling that big. At 29, you nearly lose the whole thing in a single week. A payroll run is due Friday, and a financing round you were counting on slips by 11 days, and you spend 4 straight nights calling every investor, every relative, every old professor who once said something encouraging, sitting in an office at midnight waiting on a callback that might not come. It comes, barely, at 1 in the morning, and you don't celebrate, you just process the payroll file and sit in the dark for a while before driving home. Meanwhile, on your phone, you keep half noticing Tyler's posts. He quit the landscaping crew years ago and now sells outdoor power equipment out of a rented lot, and somewhere along the way he also started posting about it constantly. Boat trips, a lifted truck, a watch he clearly can't stop mentioning in captions. You assume, the way most people watching from the outside would assume, that Tyler is living beyond what he actually has, that somewhere under all that noise is a man quietly drowning in payments, and honestly, some tired, competitive part of you finds a small, ugly comfort in that. It makes the 6 meals on rotation and the office above the tire shop feel like they're earning something his life apparently isn't. You don't examine that feeling too closely at the time. You don't have the hours to spare for examining feelings, honestly. Between payroll and the routes and a client base that's now growing faster than your 5 employees can service, without you personally checking half the accounts yourself most weeks. Some nights until Rosa physically turns off the office lights around you, as a hint that it's time to go home. A hint you take about half the time, if that. You will look back on this exact stretch, years later, as the version of you that was still right about almost everything except Tyler. If any part of this is landing, a share does more for a channel like this than people expect, because most of the algorithm's attention goes to videos already getting passed around, not just watched. By 32, your software runs routing and scheduling logic for over 400 regional service businesses across 9 states, none of them famous, all of them quietly more profitable, because of the gap you learned to see at 12, listening to your father mention a pest control guy like it was nothing. You've moved the whole operation into a proper office park outside Columbus by now. 41 employees, a small conference room with a whiteboard nobody ever erases completely. A private equity group focused entirely on unglamorous, essential service software starts showing up in your inbox, first through a mutual contact, then directly, worded casually, the kind of email written specifically to not sound like what it is, the sort of message that mentions synergies before it mentions a number. You forward it to a lawyer and wait 4 days before replying, not as a tactic exactly, more because you've learned that the first person who sounds eager in a negotiation is usually the first person who loses ground in one. The process runs 6 months, 2 rounds of financial diligence, 1 trip to a glass office in Columbus, where a managing partner slides a printed report across the table and taps it twice. It's their own internal research, showing that the exact category of businesses you've spent a decade quietly serving, pest control, HVAC, vending routes, represents a larger combined slice of the economy than several industries people consider glamorous, and that almost nobody in finance has bothered to look closely because it doesn't photograph well. You built your whole adult life around a gap other people considered too boring to notice, and it turns out the gap was never small, only unphotographed. Then, 3 weeks before the deal closes, Tyler texts you out of nowhere. No context, just a photo. A small ranch house, a paid-off mortgage document taped to the fridge behind it, captioned, "Finally got my mom's place clear. 11 years of the equipment lot finally did it." You sit with that message longer than almost anything else in this whole story. You scroll back through years of his posts, the boat, the truck, the watch, and realize you had it backwards the entire time. He wasn't drowning under the noise. The noise was the business. He sells equipment to guys who want to feel the way he looks in those posts. And the posting itself was never confession, it was marketing, quietly funding a disciplined payoff running underneath it the whole time. The same quiet position you thought only you understood. You open your lawyer's text first. It closed. You stare at the number in the business account for a long time, and your brain does what it did with the first client's monthly fee, with the first outside investment. With every number before this one, it simply refuses to process the figure as real, except this time, there's no bigger number left to compare it against. You set the phone face down, then pick it up and text Tyler back. 3 words, "That's incredible, man," and you mean it more than almost anything you've typed in years. You drive home instead of celebrating anywhere. You cook the same 6 meals on rotation, out of habit more than necessity now, and you sleep fine, which surprises you when you think about it the next morning. Thanksgiving comes 2 months later. Your mother still checks the price of the good coffee before putting it in the cart, out of pure muscle memory, not need anymore, and you watch her do it and don't say anything, because you understand by now that money offered wrong can restructure a relationship in ways that can't be undone. So you quietly cover the whole cart at checkout and let it go at that. Your father, retired now, mentions almost as a side note that the scrapyard finally automated the scale house last spring, and you notice the same silence from your childhood trying to settle over the table again. Except this time, it isn't the silence of 2 people too tired to talk. It's just quiet. You buy your parents' house from them at a fair price they can't argue with, and let them stay in it rent-free for the rest of their lives, which is the version of help you finally decided doesn't restructure anything. It just removes a fear that was never supposed to still be sitting at that table after everything you built. 6 weeks after the deal closes, you notice something over coffee on an ordinary Tuesday. You haven't opened a laptop all morning, and the engine is running anyway, already scanning for the next gap nobody else is watching. The way it's run since you were 12 years old at a kitchen table hearing your father mention a pest control guy like it was nothing. You understand, finally, that the engine was never about the money. The money was only ever proof the engine was working. It was built years before the first client, years before the payroll crisis, years before a partner slid a report across a table in Columbus, and it does not check your account balance, does not know the wire cleared, does not care that the unfinished account finally, permanently closed. The financial problem is solved completely, and at a scale your 12-year-old self couldn't have pictured. What isn't solved is the person who spent 2 decades solving it, and you're starting to understand that the 2 were never actually the same project, no matter how long you told yourself they were. Somewhere out there, Tyler is probably posting about a new truck this week, and for the first time you watch it without the quiet, ugly comfort you used to feel. because you finally know what's actually running underneath it. The exact same disciplined engine you thought belonged only to you. You built the floor your parents never got to stand on, and the floor your future kids will assume was always just how the ground looked. That part is finished, and it is enough. Even on the mornings the engine won't quite let you feel like it is.